Support for Colorado Today comes from Safeway, where you can shop online and get easy delivery or free pickup. Get the same prices, deals, and rewards as in-store. Shop the weekly ad, clip deals, and earn points at Safeway.com or in the Safeway app.
Support for Colorado Today comes from Credit Union of Colorado. With access to over 30,000 ATMs and a mobile app, they're dedicated to offering the services of a big bank with a heart. Learn more at honestlygood.org.
One of the world's most influential film festivals is on its way to Colorado. After more than 40 years as a cornerstone of independent film in Utah, Sundance wrapped its final festival in Park City yesterday. Next year, it'll make its debut in Boulder, and if you're a film nerd like me, that's something to get really excited about. I'm Arlo Perez Esquivel.
And I'm Bazi Kanani. Coming up, Colorado parents may soon be able to use federal money to pay for private school and other things.
It's only our own creativity that can hold us back. Anything we can envision, this is a very powerful funding mechanism.
Then, a family's plea to help a Colorado man held by the Taliban.
And as this continues on, we realize time is not on our side.
Plus, for Colorado Wonders, we tour a part of Denver where developers once dreamed of recreating a Scottish village.
You still see the remnants of this ideal of what this neighborhood was supposed to be.
It's Monday, February 2nd. Here's the news in Colorado today.
Here's a scary reality parents run into each year at this time. It's already time to sign up for summer camps before everything is booked up. On top of the stress of scheduling your whole summer 6 months out is the sticker shock you get when you get to the online billing page. A new federal program might help some Colorado families be able to afford summer camp and other extracurricular opportunities. But it's controversial because the program is primarily intended to help families pay private school tuition. Education reporter Jenny Brundin has been looking into this. Hi, Jenny.
Hello.
This program was created by Republicans' Big Beautiful Bill last summer. How does it work?
Depending on who you talk to, this is either a voucher program or a scholarship program. But the bottom line is that families with children between kindergarten and 12th grade could apply for this money to help cover eligible expenses. There is an income cap, so to qualify, a family can make no more than 300% of the area median income. And that's a pretty high limit. In Denver, a family of 4 making $300,000 a year would still be eligible.
And what can they use the money for?
For the Republicans who created the program, the main goal is to help families pay for tuition at private or religious schools. But Colorado is asking for permission to also make that money available for things like summer camp or after-school programs, which many families need as part of their child care plan while the parents are working. So that would open up this program to many more families, not just those who attend private schools.
Can you help us understand where the money for this program comes from? For families who would like help to pay for school, they don't actually get the money directly from the federal government.
No, that's right. This is actually a bit convoluted. The way it works is that every American taxpayer will be able to donate up to $1,700 to a nonprofit that manages the scholarships and then have that donation refunded to them by the government through their taxes.
Possibly the whole donation could be refunded to them.
Yes, up to $1,700. So the more people who participate, the more money there will be available to distribute. And to be clear, you don't have to be a parent to donate to these groups. Basically, backers are encouraging everyone to make donations to claim the tax credits.
States do have to opt in order for their families to be eligible to get this money. And so far, Jared Polis is the only Democratic governor to officially do that, though it does look like some others may follow. Why is this so partisan?
Yeah, in general, Democrats have long objected to the idea of using taxpayer dollars to support private and religious schools. They argue that society offers public schools for all, and if families want to make a different choice, they should bear the cost of that. Plus, they say taxpayer money shouldn't go to schools where the state has no say in the curriculum. And that can, frankly, exclude students based on their gender, sexual orientation, or religious beliefs. Polis, though, has always been more supportive of school choice than the rest of his party, and he said it would be ridiculous for Colorado to leave this money on the table.
It can go to everything from meaningful summer school to tutoring to after-school activities to scholarships to schools.
The governor there sounds like he's all in on this.
It does, but yes and no. Even though he signed Colorado up for the program, he's also lobbying the government to ensure that states can regulate the nonprofits that will act as sort of middlemen for the money. He says that's important to prevent waste, fraud, and abuse, since we're talking about millions of dollars in taxpayer money. And he also wants states to have a lot of power to say what the money can go for, which gets back to the idea that it could potentially be used for things beyond just private school tuition.
If Colorado moves forward with this, how soon could parents start accessing these funds?
If there aren't any delays, it could be as soon as next year, but clearly there's still a lot of details to work out.
CPR education reporter Jenny Brundeen. Thanks, Jenny.
Thank you.
It's been an unthinkable year for Molly Long and her family.
We've had to basically figure out as ordinary Americans how to deal with something that's very political and complex.
Around this time last year, her brother, Dennis Coyle, went missing in Afghanistan.
He had missed a standing phone call with our mother, and she knew something was wrong because I don't believe he's ever missed a phone call without a follow-up text or an explanation.
Coyle is a linguist, and for the last 20 years, he's been studying languages in Afghanistan. It's a job that, according to Long, meant he had to fully submerge himself in the culture. He's lived there part-time since the early 2000s, but when he wasn't on the other side of the world, he made his home in Pueblo.
He fell in love with the beauty of Colorado as well as the community, and he just felt that that was home for him.
According to the Denver Post, part of Coyle's work in Afghanistan was helping communities develop resources in their own languages, especially ones at risk of dying out.
He's got a heart for people and using his intelligence in ways that better the communities around him. And no, we really didn't have any issues with it. We were fully supportive of the path he was choosing for his professional life.
The country has become considerably more dangerous for foreigners after the Taliban regained power in 2021, and for a while, Coyle stayed away. But about 2 years ago, he returned to Afghanistan to finish his language research. 6 months later, he missed that first phone call.
And when we heard nothing, we were concerned something had happened.
Coyle's family didn't hear from him for weeks, and then for months. You can imagine what was going through their heads. But finally, a letter appeared. Coyle had been taken by the Taliban in the capital city, Kabul. He wasn't being charged with a crime, but the government was holding him in solitary confinement.
Glad is not a word. I am thankful to know that he was alive, reassured, I think. But until he's free, I don't think glad would ever be a word that we could use in this circumstance.
That's the situation they're in now. Coyle's family still doesn't know why he was detained. And after months of negotiation, the Trump administration appears to be at a stalemate with the Taliban over a potential prisoner swap. The president gave a vague answer when he was asked about Coyle's case in an interview with News Nation last month.
Do you have any response or message to the Taliban who continues to hold him for no crime, for simply
Well, I'm not
being in
happy about them holding anybody, and especially if he's not guilty of anything. And it sounds, I mean, from what I've heard, and again, I'm not that familiar with it like you are, but I will certainly take a very strong position on it.
Part of the recent press surrounding Coyle's case is because of his family. Long said they didn't feel like they could just sit on the sidelines as the months passed by, even with the State Department working on his case.
And then we've progressed to the point that it's, if we go public and vocal, that we're going to get him out.
The family put together a website, freedenniscoyle.com, with ways for people to contact their state and local representatives about Coyle's case. Long has now talked to her brother a handful of times on the phone, but the conversations are short, only a few minutes at a time, and happen under the Taliban's watch.
He is not free in any sense of his life or world, and it's extremely emotional for us as a family, but most importantly, our 83-year-old mother. It's been a full year that she has lost contact with her son, and as this continues on, we realize time is not on our side.
Dennis Coyle is one of 3 Americans the Trump administration has demanded the Taliban release.
You don't have to drive a long time in downtown Denver to realize how strange it is. You're driving southish on 27th Street, and then boom, it takes a 45-degree angle turn, and now suddenly you're on 26th Street heading east. Now, of course, a grid that takes a big tilt smack dab in the middle of the city isn't Denver's only head-scratcher. One of our listeners wanted to know what's up with that funky, meandering layout further west in the Highland neighborhood.
So we're actually standing on the tip of this elliptical-shaped part of the neighborhood that has very curvilinear streets that don't conform to the north-south, east-west street grid that we know for most of Denver.
Jay Homestead is Director of Preservation Advocacy at Historic Denver. He was standing at the corner of Zuni Street and looking out at a part of the neighborhood known as Scottish Village.
And so the story of this neighborhood and how that came to be is actually very similar to a lot of different neighborhoods in and around Denver that used to be their own municipalities and had developed in different timelines, different developers with different ideas about city planning.
In the late 19th century, Denver was less of a single city and more like a collection of towns. And 2 business partners had big plans for the town calling itself the Highland. William Jackson Palmer was a Civil War general, a railroad baron, the namesake of the Palmer Divide, and the founder of Colorado Springs. Dr. William Bell was a photographer and a doctor born in Ireland.
Bell was inspired by the hills here in this particular area that reminded him of the Scottish Highlands. And so that's how, this was all meant to evoke the feeling of a Scottish village. There was going to be this pastoral suburban enclave that was going to be, up above the filth of the city.
Think winding streets with big houses on big lots. But the high-minded developers ran into a problem. Denverites just weren't willing to walk all the way up the hill to get home. Palmer and Bell's endeavor ultimately failed, and eventually the city annexed Scottish Village, and developers, they cut up the lots for much smaller cottages.
And so this became very much a working-class neighborhood, but you still see the remnants of this ideal of what this neighborhood was supposed to be.
But the Scottish Village dream lingers on in a quartet of streets with names like Argyle Place and Fife Court. Also, when it comes to plain old streets and avenues, here's a tip that might help you navigate the more normal city layouts. Typically, avenues go east to west, while streets north to south. Take a look at your local map sometime and you'll see what I mean. Reporting for today's show came from CPR's Caitlin Kim and Sarah Mulholland. Thank you for listening, and be sure to follow Colorado Today in your podcast app. I'm Arlo Perez Esquivel.
And I'm Bazi Kanani. This is CPR News.
Support for Colorado Today comes from Safeway, where you can shop online and get easy delivery or free pickup. Get the same prices, deals, and rewards as in-store. Shop the weekly ad, clip deals, and earn points at Safeway.com or in the Safeway app.
Support for Colorado Today comes from Credit Union of Colorado. With access to over 30,000 ATMs and a mobile app, they're dedicated to offering the services of a big bank with a heart. Learn more at honestlygood.org.